Chicago, some news coming out with their change in their guaranteed entry time standards.
I see why they did it. We saw the Olympic times, their trials, qualifier times had to drop. You had people ticked off last year because there were too many time qualifiers. I didn't expect the times that I'm seeing.
We talked about it on here before. It's really a testament to the sport, right? The more people are coming to the sport of running, and they're taking it seriously enough to the point that they are getting faster.
The sport is growing. Yes, they can add more runners to it. You're not gonna cut out, charity programs, right? That's not gonna happen. You're gonna keep those. The lottery program, you could technically reduce the number of lottery entrants and not change the qualifying times, but that's not fair. It's the evolution of the marathon majors.
What happens when three runners
From different parts of the country,
with different running stories,
all get together?
pure
RunTok
madness,
So listen in as we talk about all things running related.
and some things that maybe aren't running related.
as it's bound to be a good time. This is
Run Talk
Talk
Live.
Going, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Run Talk Live. Whether you are listening to us or watching us, we are here for you guys. And a lot to talk about today, I feel like. A lot of little topics that have popped up over the last couple of weeks that we get to jive about a little bit. How you guys doing?
Good. Texas had its first 100-degree day this week, and I'm not happy about it.
Really, just now?
Well,
You had your
I
first
was
one
gonna
just
say,
now?
I feel like you've had more, or you would have had more by this point.
So there were like 100-degree days in the forecast, but it would only get to 99 degrees, which, oh shoot, 1 degree off. But yesterday we had our first 100-degree day. Today it got to 101, and I think we've got 100-degree days until Friday when it drops back to the 90s.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, let's take a look at my hometown where I grew up in California, because it is not pleasant right now. I'm going to show it to the viewers. Oh, that's a
Holy
mirror image.
Wow.
But they're all 119, 119, 113, 112, 114, 111, 111. The lowest is 109. That's the lowest
Holy cow.
in the next 10 days. So, yeah,
That's
they're having
insane.
they're having a big. So that's where I grew up, Redding, California. It has. You can look, at least at one point. I don't know if it still does. At one point, it had the highest national average temperature in the United States. It's like the average of all the days, of the temperature in all the days throughout the year. It has the highest national average temperature.
I mean,
That's crazy.
did they tell y'all just don't even go outside ever?
That's what we ran in. So I went to college there. I went to Shasta College. I did community college for the first 2 years, and we ran cross country and track there. That's what we ran in. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were done. We were running, 115 degrees out. Just found the shady places, and our coach had this little VW, like what are those, the VW vans? You guys, I don't know cars, but you know what I'm talking about? He had the VW van. And he would drive around about every 2 miles. He would drive up, park it, have his igloo full of ice water, stop for water. He'd drive another 2 miles up. We would run. And that's how we did our runs. He met us every 2 miles with his little van full of ice water.
But the feels like right now is 102. So is it like not a humid heat?
Oh, California is dry. It's very, very dry.
Okay.
That's why it's always on fire. So
Love that. Absolutely love that. Because it's 102 here. Like the feels like it's 102 here. But the humidity, it's 36%. So it's not terrible, but like you can feel it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the humidity is what makes it sucky here. Humidity here is currently at 76%.
Nah, you
And
can keep that.
that's on the low side.
Nah, you can keep that, man.
No, it's
Mm-mm.
perfect running weather. right, Florida listeners, viewers?
You just lost all of our listeners with that comment. They're like,
No.
I've actually had some very pleasant weather these last few days. Like, I don't know what it did. It hasn't felt like summer. I wake up and it's like 60 degrees in the morning and the humidity is just not there. Now tomorrow that's supposed to change. But like tomorrow's supposed to be the hottest day of the year for us here. But yeah, the last couple days have been really nice. I've been really enjoying it.
So did you just jinx it? Is that what you're saying? This is a pre-jinx?
No, it's already forecasted that it's going to be bad. So maybe I jinxed it. I think I posted about it on my Strava run this morning, so maybe I did jinx it.
All right. Speaking of your Strava run, so I mean, we do this every couple weeks. We check in on Chicago training, but how we looking, Carolyn?
I mean, kind of, I don't know, beginning of July, so we got like, what, 15 weeks? Are we 15 weeks out now?
Yeah.
Overall, I'm feeling pretty good. So, like, I feel healthy. I think the training's really coming along. I ran a 5K a couple weeks ago that didn't go quite as well as I wanted it to, but it was really hot that day too. So, like, the time just wasn't there. But I'm gonna knock out a few more races this month just to kind of gauge my where I'm at. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not feeling great yet, but I'm feeling pretty good.
What's your long run at right now, Chase?
17. Sunday was 17 miles.
Nice. What about you, Carolyn?
training's been going well. I've actually been strength training consistently. My long runs, since it's been so dang hot and humid, I've had to like cut them short. So like this past weekend, I was supposed to have 15, and I did 11. Ended up doing like total. It was like 13.1. My coach is not worried. This week is a cutback week. And I ran today in the 100-degree heat and was fine. Like I was able to do a speed workout and stuff. So I guess it's going okay, but I'm like cautiously excited.
Yeah.
So
No, that's still good. I mean, with this much time, you have time to figure
yes.
stuff out still.
Yeah, 3 whole months, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like my past training cycles, it was like, oh, I have another week, and oh, it's okay, I have more time. And it's like, I feel like I held myself back from my goal and my training. So I'm not super hard on myself, but it's like, I mean, I want to be cute and I want to reach my goals. So
Well,
yeah, it's hard during these like summer months. You guys talked about it being hot and humid, and it's really about making sure that your nutrition's in the right spot and that your hydration's in the right spot. Make sure that you're looking at the temperature ahead of time, making sure that you're hydrating well the day before. I'm drinking some water. Like I said, it's going to be hot tomorrow. I'm drinking water with some pink Himalayan salt in it right now, just to kind of get that extra sodium in me to soak up that water. So that's a good thing to do the night before any kind of long run like that or race.
yeah, salt tabs are great. So I've started taking one in the morning. Fun fact, you can have up to 50 a day. And I'm like, who is popping salt tabs every like 2 hours? Like what? How do you get to 50 salt tabs in a day, man?
Well, that's 2.1 per hour, Carolyn. So
That's a lot of salt. Like, I mean, I take one, but 50?
I think most people probably get enough sodium in their day-to-day diet that they don't need 50. But
yeah. There's like one person like, I need more. And they're like, we're going to have to limit.
Somebody's out there like, 50's not enough, man. I got to have more salt. I got to get more salt, man.
The average person definitely does not need 50. I don't know that any person needs 50. Yeah, but I'll tell you, I'm in the same boat as you, Carolyn, with my training. Where I'm in an okay spot. with I'm content with where I'm at. I progressed every week. My curve has gone up, on my Strava weekly charts. Where I have not hit my mark yet is on my long run, and that's because I get through the week. I've done everything exactly perfect, and then we get to the long run, which is Sunday, and I do it. I have a group long run that we do. We kind of support each other, and it is so hot. No matter how early we start, we get 8, 9, 10 miles in, and a lot of us, even the people that are significantly faster than me, are cutting our run short because it is just so humid and we are so sweated out at that point. And we plan, just so you know, for Chase, because we were talking about nutrition, we plan our course to where there are water stops about every 2.5 miles. We I actually support it, so I have electrolyte drinks and water, and it's a looped course also. So you're doing loops, and you come back to that Gatorade station every loop. In addition to the water stops along, it's a shaded course. Like we've done all the right things to make it manageable for a long run that can be self-supported without having actually someone hand you drinks. But it's just so hot. So not even the heat, the humidity. It's just we're by the time we start our run, we're already drenched in sweat just from stretching. Like it's been bad. So for example, this last Sunday, I was scheduled to do 15 miles. I did 12. I stopped it at 12. So my biggest long run right now in this marathon training block has been 13 miles. I should be around 16, 17, actually closer to where you are at this point. So I'm behind on the long run, on pace for, because what I've been doing is I've been kind of making up miles throughout the week. Not the best thing to do though, so I need to kind of revisit that and maybe cut back throughout the week. So I hopefully have more juice in the tank for the long run on Sunday.
Yeah,
That's
that's
where
been
I'm
the
at.
big thing from Coach Paul is he's stressing we want to hit the workouts and hit the long runs. I missed last Saturday's run just from some unfortunate just day got away from me. But he was like, "That's okay. We just need to make sure that we're hitting the workouts and hitting the long runs. Those are the biggest, the most important things." And I did too. I had a 16-mile run a couple weeks ago that I cut short to 14. So I mean, those things just happen in the summertime. It's hard. That's why you guys disagree with me. But I prefer running in the winter to running in the summertime. I hate it.
Well, and I'll tell you, a friend of mine, colleague of mine, his name is Josue. If he's listening, shout out to you. This information goes to your credit. But we were running, and he just ran Tokyo. Ran a pretty decent time in Tokyo. Ran 2:54, I think. For an older guy. And he told me, he goes, you can't focus on how many miles you're doing when you're training in Florida. You can only focus on the effort, because we were talking about doing um, marathon pacing workouts during our long runs and how we both like to schedule those. And he did one with me where I ran the goal. I was supposed to run 12 miles with 2 by 3 miles at marathon race pace, and I only got 2 miles in to marathon race pace, and I was so wiped out, so exhausted from the heat. And so he stopped with me and he goes, Jake, you're not going to be able to do your marathon times in this heat right now. He goes, you just got to focus on the effort. So do marathon effort, not marathon time. And I kind of thought about that. It's like that actually makes like that's really good advice. Like I'm not going to hit my times, not most of the time. I'm not going to, but I'm going to hit my effort.
The same thing can be said about the long run in general too, right? Like it's all about getting time on feet. Not necessarily miles on feet, but time on feet, If you get out there for, a 2-hour run, no matter how far you go, if you get out there for 2 hours, you might back way off from your, quote unquote easy pace or wherever you're trying to run that day, but you're staying hydrated, you're staying fueled. I mean, you're staying healthy. So, again, it's just about time on feet.
Yep. I don't know. Any quality advice from you, Carolyn?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's been humbling. My coaches lowered my paces by 30 seconds and it sucked. And it was, she's been good about calling me out. Like if I go too fast and I feel really good one day, she goes, okay, but keep the effort. Don't worry about the pace. Because she goes, you're going to want to rush on race day. And she's like, me forcing you to go slower, you're going to get used to holding back and keeping all that energy for the last like half of the race. So, I don't know. It's been really humbling. Um, and so my mantra for this training cycle might be a little bit toxic, but it's tired is not an excuse. So me getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get runs in, I might be tired. Tired is an excuse because the weather's going to be way better at 5 o'clock in the morning than 5 o'clock at night. And so for my speed workouts, I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to knock it out. And I feel like that is a huge mood booster as well because I'm not running in the 100-degree heat, not being so off from my paces. So it's what's worked for me. Tired is not an excuse.
But it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I know Chase lives it, but man, I
I
can't.
don't know how. It just, I mean, it does get easier for sure, but dang man, I was not a morning runner before this, and now I'm up.
I mean, it's an adjustment for sure. But I kind of told you guys. I think I've said this before on here. For a long time I was a night shift runner, right? Like I was a night shift worker. So, in order to get my run in, it was hard for me to stay motivated after work because I work in a factory and I was putting a lot of long hours, repetitive, hard work on my body, and it was really hard to stay motivated after work. So I started running before work, and one, I loved doing that. If you're a night shift worker, you probably get more sunlight as a runner during the as you do as a night shift worker than you do as a day shift worker. I know I do. But when I went to day shift, I tried running in the evening. Kind of the same problem. I just didn't have the motivation after a long day. And it's just been easier for me to run in the morning. And I like starting my day out that way too. And in order for me to start my day out that way and make it to work on time, I got to get up at 4 a.m. So,
Yep. Put
which
on
is
some
actually
David.
3 a.m. my work time because I work in Central Time and I live in Eastern Time. So,
Yeah, David Goggins is always stay hard. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying.
David who? Who's that guy?
He used to be my alarm. And I forget, it was like something about not making excuses. And my husband was like, I'm going to destroy your phone because of the alarm. And I was like, but it's working, right? Like, we're getting up, right? But
Oh man. There's a comedian, I forget his name, a Nate something, Texan guy, and he's talking about how he needs to get in shape. And he goes, I ordered a P90X video. Never worked out a day in my life, so let's do what the Navy SEALs do. And,
you're talking about Bergazzi.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Nate Bergazzi.
Yeah.
He was here in Indiana the other day.
Oh, he cracks me up. I love him.
Oh, yeah, he's hilarious.
So when you see the before body guy and the after body guy, it's like I want the DVD for the before body guy. If I can just get to where he's at, like, that's more my speed.
so my family was doing a turkey trot a couple years ago, and we walked the 5K, okay? And all of a sudden we see these drunk fraternity guys just running by. They look like Spartans, but they're hammered. And the guy, it was probably the last mile, and the guy goes, "Gentlemen, this is the moment we decide to win." And then he just charges ahead. I'm like, you know what? So in my at the end of my speed workouts and stuff, I think of the drunk fraternity guys, and I'm like, this is the moment we decide to win. I'm like, you know what? What a time to be alive.
That makes me think of Carolyn. You probably won't know what I'm talking about, but it makes me think of Leroy Jenkins.
Yes.
Leroy Jenkins.
Whatever you have to tell yourself to get up and out the door through your speed workout, whether it's drunk fraternity guys or freaking David Goggins, man.
Well, guys, we were talking about our training, and we are all training for Chicago Marathon, among other races in between now and then. But Chicago, some news coming out with their change in their guaranteed entry time standards. And I've seen a lot of chit chat and back and forth and hoots and hollers on it. And I don't know. I thought we could talk about it a little bit and get some thoughts and perspectives. And I don't know. What are you guys? Where are you guys at with this so far?
I see why they did it. I mean, everybody's getting faster. Times are getting faster. We saw the Olympic times, their trials, qualifier times had to drop. So I figured other races would kind of do the same. You had people ticked off last year because there were too many time qualifiers. So they had to just enter the normal lottery. So, I mean, I know why Chicago had to change it, but I didn't expect the times that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, we've talked about it on here before. It's really a testament to the sport, right? That they have to do this. Boston had to drop their times as well. But despite dropping their times, but this is speaking about Boston anyway, despite dropping their times, they do increase their participants every year. So they're dropping their times, but they're getting more people. And Chicago, I think, is doing the same thing. I mean, they're dropping, like you said, Carolyn, last year, some people were mad that so many guaranteed time qualifiers got in. So they dropped the times a little bit to open the door up for maybe more lottery runners. I don't know. But just the fact that we can drop these times, that we're seeing this kind of trend, again, it's a testament to the sport. More people are coming to the sport of running, and they're taking it seriously enough to the point that they are getting faster. They are trying to better themselves. They're trying to better their lives, and they're trying to better their abilities. So, people are naturally getting faster.
Yeah, I did a content video on it just a couple days ago, but that's exactly it. Like, the sport is growing. Yes, they can add more runners to it, and they do to an extent, but there is a limit, right? Like, they can only safely accommodate X amount of runners. And so what's the next logical step? Well, you're not gonna cut out, charity programs, right? That's not gonna happen. You're gonna keep those. The lottery program, like, yeah, you could technically reduce the number of lottery entrants and not change the qualifying times, but that's not fair, right? So you do the math, you calculate, you look at the times that are being submitted over the last 5 years, and you say, okay, what do we need to adjust these to? Because these are the times that are being entered as qualifying times. And that's the next logical thing. It's the evolution of the marathon majors, because this isn't the first time Chicago's done this, right? Boston's done it who knows how many times, New York, all of them. I think where people are upset is Chicago, up until this point, was the easiest marathon to get into. Of the six majors, I should say. Of the six majors, it was the easiest to get into because their standards were the most lax to get into. Now Chicago has kind of caught up. They're kind of on par with the rest. I would say, I've heard some people say, oh, well, now it's harder than Boston. Well, it really isn't. Boston doesn't have a lottery. Chicago does.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you still have a better chance of getting into Chicago, even if the times are 5 minutes faster per age group. And I don't know what the size is either, but
so for Chicago's the third biggest marathon in the world. And that's just, 40,000 people. That was a couple years ago. So you got New York City and Chicago are two of the top three biggest in the world. And Boston's the one that doesn't have a lottery you have to qualify for. So again, Chicago's still going to be fairly easy to get in. I don't want to say easy, but the lottery is going to be more open than it was. You're going to have less people trying to get in on automatic times.
Well, and then people keep saying, well, they need to do a lottery for Boston. They need to do a lottery for Boston. I will tell you right now, it's never going to happen. And the reason why it's never going to happen is because they're never going to change the course, at least the start and the finish of Boston. And that start of Boston is limited in space. That's why they make it as challenging as they make it to get in, and they make it this marquee race, because they are maxed out essentially onto how they can safely start that race with those runners. Chicago, again, a little bit more flexibility, right? New York, a little bit more flexibility. Boston's never going to have a lottery. That's my prediction. You're hearing me. Not in my lifetime. I don't think it'll happen because of that reason.
Well, and I don't think it should either. I mean, I think that, not to sound elitist here or anything, but there needs to be one major marathon that requires you to do, some work, right? Like we talked about, you mentioned something earlier today. I know it wasn't on here, but influencers in Boston, and I know that there's been discussion on whether influencers should be invited to Boston. And flat out answer is no. Now, if they do the work and they qualify, or they do a charity, then go do your influencer thing. Sure, go whatever you did to get there. But, I think Boston needs to stay that kind of one that you have to work for. And not saying that people don't do the work, right? Like anybody who runs a marathon does the work, right? But I think that one of them needs to stay, qualify only.
Yeah. And I'm all for the influencer piece with boundaries, kind of like you were just saying, like with caveats to it, right? And my caveat would be, if you're going to allow influencers, don't just randomly throw out invites to influencers and say, hey, you're in Boston. Create an influencer, program, and maybe have 50 people that are allowed in, and still make a standard for that program, whatever that standard may be. You have to hit this time plus your influencer standard. Again, I don't, some big number, right? Whatever it is. But regardless, to me, the influencer piece should be such a small number that it's like nibbles of a big pot, right? 25 influencers and whatever it is. But yeah, to your point, I do think Boston needs to stay, and it will, as the elitist race, right? The race that everyone dreams of doing, and qualifying for too. Getting in one way, but those qualifying standards, they're not going to get easier. They're going to keep getting harder, and that gives us something to chase for those people that have the ability to chase those too. I don't know. Carolyn, you're being quiet on this. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I feel like I can't give an opinion since I haven't qualified for Boston and I'm not an influencer. So throughout this whole debate, I've just been kind of quietly sitting and watching. And I mean, it breaks my heart to see people just attacking each other. And like one of our friends got absolutely attacked on social media because she was an influencer and she was like, you know what, I got a bib. I'm probably never going to qualify for Boston. And people were like, well, you didn't deserve a bib. And it's like, I don't know. At the end of the day, Boston is also about sponsorships and money. And I feel like people, it's really hard to tell companies what to do with their money.
Mhm.
But yeah, at the end of the day, these world marathon majors, sure, you can work towards a 6-star medal and stuff, but they're getting your money. These races are so expensive, and I don't know. It's really hard to form an opinion at that point when so many people are attacking each other. And heck,
When you just mentioned something that I actually mentioned publicly too, which is influencers do help the races. There's no way around that, right? They do. The race directors know that, the companies know that. We're not just talking about Boston, we're talking about any race at this point. Influencers help the race. The bigger the influencer, the more exposure that race gets, the more that race grows, yada yada yada. So I do think we need them to an extent. Like I'm personally, I'm okay with influencers getting in as long as there's, like I said, some boundaries or some cap to it, just some guidelines in place to where just not any influencer can go in there and run this marathon for free or whatever, whatever the perks are, because that there needs to be some sort of like application process to get in as an influencer.
I
Yeah.
think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Jake. I don't think it should be for free either, Like even the charity people don't do it for free. Like they raise all this money, they don't do it for free, and I think that's, yeah, you're right. If we can create some sort of metric that they need to hit to still, put some kind of quantifiable goal out there, then yeah. And again, I feel like Boston's just the one that you should have to work for. And it's no offense to anybody that's gotten into Boston for free or on a free ride or however you want to look at it. If you get the opportunity to run Boston, absolutely go for it. It's an amazing experience.
Oh, yeah.
But I just, if as the sport grows, I think there still needs to be a race that is, has to maintain some sort of attainability.
Yep. Well, and we're talking about the growth of the sport, and I've mentioned it before. I still think another sign of the growth of the sport of running is the fact that we're not only talking about, but we're in plans now to add another marathon major and potentially another marathon major. And that is a testament to the growth of running worldwide, right? Like, we need to expand. Like, it's got to happen now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Again, the fact that we get to have these type of debates or conversations, that in itself tells you that there is a lot of growth happening within running right now. We wouldn't have been having these conversations 10 years ago. No one would have cared. No one would have cared if some person from Facebook got a free invite into Boston 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You care now
For sure.
because it's so much harder to get in now. Yeah.
All I'm saying is we all deserve influencer bibs. Okay? That's what I stand by.
I mean, if Boston wants to throw out the RunTok Live podcast, some sort of invite to, I don't even want to do the race. Just let me go to the whatever, the convention center.
See, now you're talking, Jake. I think if they're going to invite influencers, I think they need to invite them as spectators.
Why the spectators? Give them a booth. Give them a booth at the
at
the banquet. Just do stuff like that. Get your exposure that way. Let them walk around and just film everybody and interview people.
Sure. Yeah.
That's in which they're going to do anyways. But still, like, give them a clearer path to do it. That way certain influencers that travel around with their posse, you don't have to knock people over in the middle of their run to, get the perfect camera angle while their shirt is off and they're talking into 4 different cameras.
I think you got a lot of them like that right now.
They're growing. There's a lot more of them, but hey, they're doing something that's working for them. So,
yep. Can't hate on the success too much.
You know what else I'm seeing a lot of, guys? Seeing a lot more running podcasts pop up.
Are you?
A lot more. Yeah. I just saw one that came on my For You feed. A young girl who started her podcast as of yesterday, and she was promoting it on there. Nice girl. Like, I love following her. She's really good. So, a lot of like what they call average runner podcasts. Like, this one's called the Average Runner Podcast, but you're seeing a lot more of those, which is neat because, again, I like the diversity. Like, we have our style of podcast that is unique to us, and I like these other podcasts that are coming up too that are completely different from what we're offering on ours.
Yeah, and it's interesting. People aren't wanting to listen to like the big podcasts anymore. I mean, they still are for sure. But for example, this one podcast that was huge, people were like, I don't really feel like these people are genuine anymore, or I can't really relate. So people are really looking for other podcasts to listen to, people that they can relate to and not, Olympians or big time influencers, because they're like, I mean, I can't relate to you, or there's so many Olympians and fast runners that you can learn from as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I feel like the same thing. On one, I don't listen to a whole lot of running podcasts anymore. I used to, but I think that's really the big reason as to why I don't, is because some of them have gotten so big, and I don't really find them, like you said, relatable. That's a great word to describe it. It's it's hard to put yourself into the same shoes as these people that are constantly getting free stuff sent to them, and again, it's no knock on them. I'm happy for their success, but it's like they don't have that thing anymore that drew me to them in the first place. And so yeah, I'm glad there's more running podcasts. I'm gonna have to branch out a little bit and listen to some different stuff, because I've really kind of gotten away from running podcasts as a whole. Not that anybody should do that, because they should listen to this podcast all the time. Every episode multiple times.
Everyone. forwards and backwards in slow motion.
On YouTube and Spotify. Like and subscribe and comment and everything else. All the other stuff that comes along with it. The little bell icon.
It comes up on my reels all the time now. Are the clips that you make? They come up on my Facebook reels all the time now, which is kind of neat. Yeah. Yep.
Sweet.
And my wife is getting really into, like, I don't know reels. Okay, I say reels as if I know what I'm talking about. I really don't. I just know it's a thing. But my wife keeps making them too, so she has a bunch of them out there.
Now just wait till you start branching into the YouTube genre, and then they start calling them shorts.
Yeah.
Did you know that you can make TikTok videos up to 90 minutes now?
90 minutes? That's a movie.
Longer than that, I thought.
Is it longer than that? Maybe it's longer than that.
Yeah, there's that group of like African. I say that as they're legitimately from Africa. These group of kids from Africa that made a full-on CapCut movie, editing and filming strictly with CapCut, and then put it on TikTok. Yeah, and it's a superhero movie. And actually, I mean, for a CapCut, quality, it's like, it looks pretty decent, So they have a trailer about it, and now they're talking about getting an actual like script in America and getting an actual movie made based off of this. It was like a 2-hour movie that they did.
All right, so off of running for a second, who's you guys' favorite non-running TikTok account right now?
Ooh,
I have a couple.
Now I gotta pull up TikTok.
So they're big ones. My first one is he goes by Supes, Supes, and he just does everything Marvel and DC related. He gets all the Disney invites and goes to all the early premieres, and he's huge, and I love him. And then if you guys aren't following News Daddy Dylan, follow News Daddy Dylan. Like, he's now the #1 news source in America. And he's on TikTok.
Daddy.
He reports on the news that the news won't report on.
News Daddy Dylan. It was the second thing that popped up. Dylan page. Okay. I'll check him out.
Yeah.
Dylan, what about you? You opened up your TikTok. Did you find your?
Let's see. SNL is a really funny one that I follow. Which, I mean, who doesn't? But I mean, I follow a lot of running stuff. That's really all my TikTok is, and like occasionally I'll look up comedians and stuff like that. But I don't know.
So I have absolutely fallen in love with Carter Vale, the Dirt Man. Have you guys heard that song yet? Put a little dirt under my pillow for the Dirt Man. No,
what?
I haven't heard that one yet. It's this viral thing that's going on. It's like he made this little song called The Dirt Man, and like he even posted a thing where you like make up your own verse to it. Like he'll start out the song and then you get
I know who you're talking about now. Now that I see it. Yeah, he comes up, he has the mustache. Yeah.
Oh yeah. all of his songs just crack me up. But he's also like a legitimately good musician. Like I started following him on Spotify, and I've listened to a couple of his albums. He's really good. But
Yeah.
that song was like so ridiculous that it got me hooked. Yep, that's him.
Yeah,
And
I do follow him.
yeah, no, and all of his songs just crack me up. I love him so much. I used one of his songs in a video I made not too long ago.
Okay,
yeah.
so another account I watch is Tiny Foods. So there's this person that will make little tiny miniature foods for her hamster. And then there's somebody on Instagram that makes food, like gourmet food for her 2 chihuahuas. So I do enjoy a good tiny food video. The Miniverse videos. Like this video I'm currently watching, they're making a tiny frappe. Okay. Completely, homemade. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a time. So that's super fun if you're looking for a time waster.
Well, guys, speaking of TikTok, I am officially 9 followers away from being at 10,000 followers.
Oh, let me
Come
unfollow
on.
10 more.
You're listening right now. I need 9 of you. Come on.
I have been unfollowing some people lately.
So close. So
I'm still hovering around.
So
not even
speaking
to
of
2,000 yet. So took that little hiatus that kind of knocked me down a peg. But
if we're going into runners that I do follow, that I've really started liking, there's the girl, and I think oh god dang, I think she just refers to herself as the average runner.
Oh, is it Nicole?
Yeah, we talked about her on a podcast that when we were interviewing someone.
Yeah.
But he had mentioned her.
Oh, it's Coach Alicia.
Was it Coach Alicia?
Yeah, so she and Nicole are friends because Nicole started.
Yeah.
But no, Nicole's a good one. She can actually throw down. Like she can put in speed when she wants to. So, but she is very relatable.
Yeah. Well, and then have you guys or are you guys following Ray William Johnson?
I've followed Ray William Johnson since like the early YouTube days.
Gotta follow Ray William Johnson.
I forgot. Listen, I followed this guy in middle school.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
He's the best. I love his stuff.
Ray William Johnson's hilarious.
Oh,
and then I'll stop after this one. But there's also a guy called Simba Jones that he does. Dark humor. That's what it is. His whole thing is dark humor, and he starts each one of his videos is like dark humor. If you laugh, you're out. And the jokes are just so raunchy and so ridiculous that, I mean, if you just need a good laugh by yourself sitting in a room, because if there's anybody around you, they may not really find it to be that funny.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it right now. Yep, there we go. All right.
Dark humor.
Well, we've always said if you listen to our intro, we talk about all things running and some other things, and this is
things that aren't running related. Yeah, but we are a RunTok podcast. We met on TikTok, so it's a good thing for us to throw back to that from time to time.
I think this is totally unscripted, but we have a lot of new listeners, a lot of new followers, a lot of even individually on TikTok, and then of course on our Spotify, on our YouTube. I feel like we need to recap the story of how we all met and how this podcast became a podcast, like how this trio came to be.
Once upon a time.
I had to explain it. So, full disclosure, I was a guest on a podcast. It comes out in August. But the person asked was like, tell me about the history.
Wait. We can have till August to get episodes out? I'm cranking these things out too fast. What are we doing? Wait, that's a whole month away. Man,
we're giving Chase this 2-week timeline max.
talk about feeling rushed here.
But no, he asked how we met, and I was like, okay, fine. So I said the professional reason, but for the listener, you know when your mom tells you not to talk to strangers who have vans. So Chase comes by in a white van while I'm on a run, okay? And all of a sudden opens the door. Jake goes, "Hey, you want candy?" And I hop in.
Oh,
There's a
can't believe you're telling
podcast,
people
dude.
this.
We just started recording a podcast in the back of a van down by the river.
Oh God, I'm so sorry, Mom.
Oh.
Sorry.
Not
Oh, I love it.
in reality, as fun as that would have been great. Even it would have been even more fun if we would have done it in the middle of like the Chicago Marathon, just yanked you right off the course.
Mile 13's like 2 hours long. It's fine.
You look like
What
a
happened to
Texan
Carolyn's
girl.
tracking? But no, so the way I remember it, and you guys can jump in anytime, but Jake reached out to me at one time and said, "Hey, I want to do something with some other, run talkers and do." I think at the time we were still talking about just doing live and doing like a TV show or a live show type atmosphere, and that's how it started. He told me that Carolyn was involved, and I of course followed Carolyn too, so I knew exactly who she was. I hadn't talked to her personally through DMs or anything at that point, but we did a live show and it just kind of clicked and we just kept going.
Yeah. And it kind of became a podcast because we were doing these lives every Tuesday night for an hour and a half. And it was a huge time commitment. And I really liked that, people were into it. And I feel like somebody suggested a podcast. I don't know if it was either of you or a listener.
I don't remember. I think we were talking about it, and like you said, we kind of we were talking about how it was such a time commitment. We were doing every single Tuesday, and then just, trying to do a podcast instead where we actually record it and kind of come out with it on our own pace sounded appealing. Because, that's the other thing is we're, three normal people. We all have lives. We don't do this professionally. We're not professional influencers or anything like that. I have a 40 to 50 hour a week job. Carolyn, you're constantly working. Jake, you work from home, but you're working all the time and you're traveling a lot. So it's, this made the most sense based on what we got going on and in our fun little running entertainment lives.
Well, I'll tell you the back story. And it actually started with you, Chase. It started with Chase. And it started with Chase because when I first started, I've been on TikTok for 4 years now, right? And shortly after I got on TikTok, I got to like 1,000 followers and I was trying to go live, but nothing was happening. And then I came across Chase's like first video. Like he came on a little bit after I did. And he was talking about superhero stuff. I was like, dude, I like this guy already. Like he had like a superhero, a Superman something. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, okay, I like this guy. And we started like liking each other's videos, right? And kind of subtly commenting. And then what happened is I got my first troll on TikTok, my first guy that trolled me for something. And I don't remember what he trolled me for. I have no idea. But Chase was the first person, he responded with a video and was like, don't mess with my guy Jake, and did this video. And I was like, dude, I really like this guy. All right. We need to do something together. And so in my head, I was trying to plan it out. I was like, all right, he's from Indiana, as far as I can tell. I was in New York at the time, so I'm from New York. It'd be cool if we had a girl though. And so I think I lied to you, Chase, because I put Carolyn, like Carolyn was already on my radar as the girl that I wanted because I had been following her. And I reached out to Chase first, full disclosure, Carolyn. And I
That's how
said,
I said it on the podcast.
yeah, and I reached out to Chase first. I was like, yeah, we should do something. Carolyn's in. Carolyn wasn't in. I haven't even talked to her yet. I just, I just said she was in. And then I reached out to Carolyn afterwards, and luckily she was in. But yeah, I thought it would have been cool to have like 3 people from 3 different parts of the country and have a girl, have a couple of guys. And I just thought it would have been fun. And then the live started. And the live basically became a podcast, right? Like we were just doing it live, but we were interviewing people. We were like putting advertisements out there for the live. And I think the podcast was just the natural evolution of that live session. It just made sense, to do that.
Yeah, and I think it was hard too because people were like, "Oh shoot, I forgot about the live," or "Hey, I'm busy this night." We were like, I mean, podcasts are easier because you can listen to it whenever. But it was wild because people wanted to be on this live and they were like, "Hey, can I join this week?" and stuff. So, it was easier to start than I thought.
Well, the lives became popular real quick, and part of it was because no one else was doing them, not
Yeah.
in a group setting like that, right? Like there would always be one person that would go live. But we started with the 3 of us, and then we started bringing on guests, and then we're like, oh, let's bring on 2 people, and then we're bringing on, you know, 3 or 4, and then we're just like, whoever wants to hop in, right? And we were just doing it that way, first come, first serve, whoever's here, and we had like 9, 10 people on a live session at a time, and it was fun. But yeah, I think the podcast made the most sense to grow into next. Who knows? Maybe we'll do another random live, one of these days. Do
It has
something
been a
fun.
minute.
Yeah, I'm thinking in Chicago we could go live.
Well,
Yeah,
we
for
could do
sure.
that.
Yeah. Go
that's the
live
story
and
of-
record our first podcast episode all in the same room together.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
Yeah, we have never, for those listening and watching, we have never, all 3 of us met. I've met Chase. Me and Chase have met. We ran a race together. Carolyn is the one that didn't invite us to her wedding and refused to come to the Indianapolis Monumental Marathon. So she's been avoiding us at all costs, so it seems.
All right, listen. I'm running Indy this year, so I'm seeing Chase back to back, okay?
There we go.
So
I'm still undecided on Indy this year.
I still haven't signed up either. Maybe I'll just sign up for the half with you, Carolyn, and not do the full. I don't know. I've done the full like 4 years in a row.
Yeah, if I do it, it would be the half. It would be the half. I just gotta justify the travel cost to my wife in some nice way. By the way, it's our wedding anniversary this Sunday, the 7th.
Oh, happy anniversary.
not inviting us to your wedding, buddy.
You guys didn't exist in my lives at that point in time, so.
Excuses.
I got married during COVID, so.
Oh, well. Okay.
Nobody came to my wedding. Okay, there was like.
Sad. Yeah.
There's like 50 people that came to my wedding, but
God. Oh. Well,
man. If I could do my wedding differently, I would have required all my groomsmen to wear running shoes. I should have done that. And no Brooks allowed. I would have put that on the sign.
Okay. First of all, that hurts. Second of all, I wore Keds to my wedding. I didn't wear those cute little shoes, but nah, I was running around in powder blue Keds. So
what are Keds?
Come again?
Keds.
You know what Vans are?
I know what Vans are.
Shoe
yes.
brand.
They're the things that we pick up Carolyn in the middle of the Chicago race. And
you know what? What a time. So let me show you what little Keds look like. Okay, there's like 18 ads popping up.
They kind of look like Sperry's, don't they? Like they kind of look like Sperry's, like boat shoes. Yeah.
So for the listener, they look like Vans. but they're extremely comfortable. I've worn them since I was a baby, essentially, and they're just kept the tradition alive for my wedding.
Do they make slides? I need a new pair of slides.
Ooh, I don't know. I just usually
I've
wear
had the
them.
same Under Armour slides for like 5 years, and they're my wife told me they're starting. I'm gonna need a new pair soon.
Listen, what brand do I have? I have an Amazon brand, but it's like the memory foam. It hits your like. This is essentially what they look like. So like it hits all the points of your foot. I don't know. They work.
I'm a big sandals guy. Like outside of running shoes, I literally don't have many shoes. So like other than running shoes, my shoe collection is virtually non-existent.
Oh, I don't have any. I have one pair of dress shoes for when I go to Denver for work, and then I have sandals. Like
Yeah.
quite a few sandals.
Sandals all the time. When I'm not running, sandals.
Yeah.
Even until like I will wear sandals until it is like too cold to wear sandals. And that's got to be pretty cold. Like if it's like freezing, that's when I'm starting to put shoes on. Yeah.
Sandals as we speak.
Yeah.
We need to talk about y'all's fashion choices because this is atrocious. Like,
look, Jake's a dad. I'm almost 40. Give me a break. Like we're
both in the corporate world, okay? Come on now.
Yeah.
I gotta wear steel-toed shoes.
Yep.
Okay, good point.
I hate to say it. So you're still, I don't know if you agree with this, Chase, but Carolyn's still freshly married, right? I've been married for almost 8 years. I'm at a point where I don't need to impress her. Like I got her. Like she's mine.
It's not.
I'm not trying to impress anybody else at this point.
No.
So.
I was this way before we got married, so why change? She likes what she likes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Does you walking around Disney World in flip-flops? How is that comfortable?
This is
Hold
Florida.
on, let me show
if
you.
You're wearing shoes and socks at Disney World in Florida, you're probably going to be looked at as the weirdo.
Yeah,
Oh,
seriously. What do you?
I get blisters so fast. If I'm not in a sensible pair of shoes walking around, I'm up a creek, man.
No.
It's so bad.
Just thinking your feet are aired out. They don't stink at night, right? You can just, you know how easy it is to just come home, slip the sandals off, boom, you're done. You don't have to untie anything and take your shoes off and take your socks off. We don't have time for all that, Carolyn. You know?
My God.
I also have ugly ass feet, excuse my French. My toes are nasty and I don't care. So, like,
this is a lot. This is the hill I die on, and y'all choose the Brooks Hill. This is just what it's come to.
does Brooks have sandals?
I don't know.
Maybe I'll try those. It's really hard to mess up sandals. If they can mess up sandals, then we got a lot to talk about.
No, Brooks does not have sandals yet.
Oh, Nike has sandals. It's weird.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I was looking for a picture where I was trying to pull out King Arthur's sword in a pair of flip-flops, but I couldn't find it. So,
which, by the way, I still don't know what the secret is to that.
Wait, the King Arthur sword in Disneyland or Disney World?
Pretty sure you have to be like the chosen king.
It is. They pre-choose people from the line.
There's like never a line.
No, I mean like you have to be like, King Arthur pulled the sword from the stone because he was the chosen king. You have to be like chosen, like magically. It's like a destiny thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be chosen one of these days. Just wait.
Just go every day.
That's the same thing as the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. It is my dream to be in the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. So, but I've never been picked for that. So one day.
So there's a secret to that, and it's, I think, let me backtrack. I've been to a lot of NBA games. I'm a huge basketball fan, and from what I'm told, it's the same way that they pick their like halftime contestants for the halftime shows that you don't never actually see on TV or rarely ever do. And it's if you get there early enough, they like people like the whatever the scouters will like go out because you have to sign a waiver. So you
Yeah.
have to like go out and be like, do you want to participate? You do? Okay, and you got to sign the waiver. Like they don't just and then they leave you there and they say, okay, well we're going to call you out and it's going to look random or whatever. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
not. They sign something ahead of time.
No, I was actually first in line for one time, and I was there as they were picking out the people that were supposed to be on the show, and they walked right past me.
You just don't got that.
went about 5 or 6 people deep into the line, and then I was just like,
Was it one of those like, oh, like,
yeah, no, it was one. I
oh,
don't know. I may have been like fanboying, or maybe I was playing it too cool. I don't remember exactly. I just know that I was right there on the ropes, first one in, and yeah, a few people behind me got to go up on stage.
that's a horrible feeling.
It
One of
is.
my first date memories with me and my wife is we were at dinner. It was like one of the first times we were at dinner, and she's a foodie. She loves restaurants. She loves trying out new places. And I remember the waiter walking out with this lavish plate full of food, and she like looks at it, and she like her like face lights up, and she puts her finger up. She's like, and then the waiter walks past her and sets the food down at the table behind her, and her face just went like it was the saddest thing I've ever seen, from sheer joy to absolute disappointment that she did not get that plate of food. And I don't know why that made me think of it, but it made me think of that.
I mean, that's
It
how I
was
felt, you know.
man, that's the worst.
Indiana Jones, though. Well, anyways, I don't know how we got to talking about Disney World, but don't knock until you try it, Carolyn. Throw on some sandals, take a trip down here to Disney World. You'll see what we're talking about.
Yep.
You can thank me later.
And there's no freer feeling in the world than, you know, obviously, you know, when you get on the roller coasters where your feet dangle, you have to take your flip-flops off, right? They got little cubbies for them, but then the air just flying through your toes as you just swing through the air on a roller coaster. Whew, man, it's better than a foot massage.
And now they got all the water rides. Like you don't be walking around with wet shoes or wet socks. Like
Right.
just telling you.
Sandals all day.
Yep.
It just doesn't sound appealing.
Chase, do you have a sandal tan line, or do you have
Yeah.
a running sock tan line, or do you have both?
That's a good question.
Everybody, we are getting a live view. We're getting a real time view of Chase's feet.
Just kidding.
Mostly a sandal tan line, yeah.
Okay, well, good for you. Congratulations. Happy for you.
You don't want to show us your feet on camera, Carolyn?
I refuse to give YouTube free content. Okay, you gotta pay for that. Pay.
And you can find Carolyn's OnlyFans page at.
What?
She ain't giving you free stuff. You gotta subscribe for that foot fetish.
Let's discuss. So, for the listener, I had to get 85% of my big toenail removed due to fungus. Okay, it literally runs in my family. Happened to my grandma, my mom, and now my dad.
I think it's just a runner thing.
I don't know. It started, so I got it back in 2018 from, I think it was some type of, I don't know, fungus, whatever. Anyway, so it was just that toenail. So I go to get it, you know, removed and lasered, and I was talking to the people in the room, and I was like, you know, I don't think I'm gonna ever go back to a manicure or like a pedicure place. And the lady lasering my toenail goes, "Why? You have such beautiful feet." And I'm like, "Don't look at my feet. You're ruining this whole process for me." So got my feet looked at, told me they were beautiful, and that did it. That did it.
You know what I love about this podcast, guys? we went into this podcast for the precursor to the listeners and viewers, and we said, let's talk about Chicago and their time standards. Let's talk about the trials and a recap, which we aren't going to get to at this point. And let's talk about our training. And instead, we talked about some of that. We've also talked about sandals, toe fungus, Disney World, kidnapping Carolyn, which is a totally made up story, and the history of our connection. And this is why our podcast is the greatest, and this is why everyone needs to listen to us. Because we don't even know what's going to happen when we start filming and recording.
True that. There's plenty of time before the Olympics to still talk about the Olympic trials.
Yeah, we got weeks.
Which were pretty freaking epic.
Yeah, we will talk about that next episode. All right, guys. Well, I think we're at 105 minutes, aka that.
105 minutes?
Yeah.
Do you know how to tell time, Jake?
That's not right. But if I'm looking, it's also late at night, guys. Give me a break. We are at 1 hour and 5 minutes.
Is that sandal math, Jake?
No, that's Brooks math.
So back to the story of how this podcast originated. Jake actually needed to learn how to tell time and read a clock.
Yeah, they kept saying that the podcast or that the live was going to be at 7. I was showing up at 2. I don't know. Couldn't figure it out. I was waiting around for 5 hours, and eventually they showed up. All right, guys. Well, I think we call it a night. This has been a fun episode. But Carolyn, do you want to let everyone know where they can find us?
Yes, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can join our Facebook group. You can find us on Spotify. All of that at RunTok Live. You can email us at runtalklive@gmail.com. What else? You can find me on Instagram at Carolyn M. Levinway and TikTok at Carolyn McDuff. Chase, where can people find you?
Pretty much those same places. Hit up my link tree that'll be in the description of this episode, and that'll take you wherever you want to go. Jake?
Yep. Find me on TikTok at The Cultural Runner, and you better be one of the next 9 followers to follow me to get me to 10,000 people.
What's the 10,000th follower get, Jake?
They get to be the 10,000th follower. That's what they get to be.
That's lame. You should have got some kind of prize.
Yeah, I'll promote you. I'll advertise it. You're the 10,000. I'm going to now. Now that you said that,
Number 10,000.
I'll do so. I'll send them some balloons that they can throw on themselves. Some confetti. There we go. All right, guys. Well, that's been fun. Another episode of RunTok Live in the books, and we will see you all next time.
Next time. Happy 4th of July. This is going to come out after 4th of July. Hope you had a happy 4th of July. Never mind.